All right, Mr. Chairman, we'll just run through the agenda quickly. Three items on the agenda tonight. Item number one, DRH 25-182 at 11059 West Overland Road for a new single-story bank building with a drive-through in the MX1 zone. We are recommending that for the approval on the consent agenda. Item number two, DRH 25-270 at 3150 West Main for a new 4-story parking garage building with ground floor commercial. We will hear that item. And finally, item number three, DRH 25-268 at the same 3150 West Main Street for the construction of a 5-story multifamily residential building. We will hear that item as well. So barring any questions, we'll get started here in a little bit. I don't believe so. No, I think it'll just be
agreements on conditions of approval.
Yeah. Yep. So it should be fairly straightforward. We'll see.
Thanks, Josh. All right.
All right, Mr. Chairman, we can go ahead and get started.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. At this time, I'd like to call the September 10th, 2025 Design Review Commission meeting to order. Christina, will you please call the roll?
Temple.
Here.
Marsh.
Here.
Aguilar. Erstad.
Here.
Gesrick.
Here.
4 present, 1 absent.
All right, moving on to meeting minutes. Looking for a motion on the August 13th, 2025 work session and commission meeting minutes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Stead.
I would move for approval of the work session and commission meeting minutes from August 13th, 2025.
Great, so moved.
Second.
Second, any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Christina, you please call the roll.
Temple.
Aye.
Marsh.
Aye.
Erstad.
Aye.
Gesrick.
Aye.
All in favor, motion carries.
The first item that we're considering for tonight's consent agenda is item number 1. It's DRH 25-00182. Location is 11059 West Overland Road for the construction of a new 2,877 square foot single story bank building with a drive-through property on MX1 zone. Is the applicant present by chance? See it in person. Josh, do you know if they're in agreement with the recommended conditions of approval?
Mr. Chairman, we did receive confirmation in writing that they were okay with the conditions of approval.
Great, thank you very much. Are there any members of the public, either online or in person, that are wishing to testify in opposition to this item tonight? Seeing none in person, any online, Josh? No, seeing none, this item will be moved to consent agenda, and that concludes our items to be considered for tonight. I'd be open for a motion.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Stepp.
I would move to approve the consent agenda consisting of item DRH 25-00182.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
Second, thank you, Mr. Simple. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
is there any requirement for an applicant to be present, or is this simply
No.
okay?
Thanks for clarification. It's moved, seconded, no discussion. Christina, you please call the roll.
Temple.
Aye.
Marsh.
Aye.
Erstad.
Aye.
Gesrick.
Aye.
All in favor, motion carries.
First item we'll hear on a regularly scheduled agenda. Here's item number 2. It's DRH 25-00270. Locations 3150 West Main Street. And with that, I will turn it over to staff for their application. Caitlin?
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. This application is DRH 25-00270 to construct a 4-story parking garage and retail building at 3150 West Main Street. The property is located at the northwest corner of Main Street and Whitewater Park Boulevard. The building is part of a larger mixed-use development, and the Commission has previously approved the overall site improvements and the CWI building at the southeast corner. The parking and retail building is located interior to the site, bounded by service drives on all sides. The applicant is providing landscaping and street trees as part of the streetscapes. The parking garage is accessed from the east and west sides of the building. The south portion of the building consists of ground floor commercial tenant spaces with adjacent outdoor patio spaces. And I will let the applicant team present their design. And I think they do have some updated renderings, but the top image is a perspective from the southeast and from the southwest on the bottom. And then you can see the commercial tenant spaces along the south and the 4-story parking garage on the north, and then the circulation towers on the east and the west. And we are recommending approval per the conditions in the project report. And I can stand for any questions, or the applicant team can present.
Thank you, Caitlin. Any questions for staff in the commission at this point? Hearing none, is applicant present? If you would, please state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. For the record, Ryan Cutler, Oakquist Development. My address is 1144 South Silverstone Way, Meridian, Idaho, 83642. It's nice to see you all again. Did we do this last month? I think we did. I don't think we have anything next month, so I think this is probably it for a little bit. Appreciate you guys taking the time, and Caitlin and staff. We're excited to be back again. It's really exciting to see this campus area coming to life as we kind of progress through these projects that are here. And as Caitlin already indicated, with the site being approved and the CWI tower being approved, all of those individuals need somewhere to park. That's part of the reason why we're here tonight, is to talk about the next component that we have for this project, which is the parking structure, which also contains some retail along the frontage of that building. Just as a reminder, we work with really awesome people. This team is great. I have Brad Smith with me here also as our lead architect, who will stand up here in a few minutes and walk through more of the building and the materiality of the structure, and we'll give him some time a little bit later. And I know I say this every time and it might get old, but I'm going to say it again. Like, we really enjoy working with Josh and Caitlin and the team that you have here at the city. They're great. They're responsive. They give us great feedback. We do our best to work really hard to try to meet or eliminate any conditions that they might have on the staff report, just to make it really easy for you guys to make a decision on this. So grateful for them. I know, I don't think Catherine's here tonight. You guys gave her the night off. What was the deal with that? It's pretty nice. Anyways, she on another project, she's been working with us, and she's been great to help up there. And again, as Caitlin indicated, we're grateful for an approval recommendation on this site. Went through it all a little bit, but just, I think your guys are familiar with this site plan. But the red boxed area is what we're discussing tonight in an MX5 zone. And as a recap that Caitlin already discussed, where we have the CWI building tower in the southeast corner, and the overall site having already been improved, and the overall site containing a majority of the landscaping for this site that has all been approved for through our previous hearings last month. And kind of exciting news, I learned that some of the asphalt's being pulled up right now, so the site is moving and is active, and a few days away from actual dirt being turned and grading happening. So that's really exciting for not only for us on our team at CWI, but for the city of Boise as we move forward in making this site as great as it can be. And just as a reminder from our previous site plan approval, we have connectivity across Whitewater Park Boulevard and our connectivity through the plaza in front of this building, where we do have some patio area, but some good connectivity straight across through to the Greenbelt to allow for kind of smooth connectivity from Greenbelt off the site or on the site for anybody that wants to be utilizing this. But again, tonight we're here specifically to talk about the garage, and we'll get into that. Caitlin also indicated we did have some updating renderings. We do. We wanted to make sure that we brought the best possible renderings we could of what we feel the building's going to look like, to give you a better idea of the materiality and what the site could look like in this case, kind of that early evening, and the opportunities that could be there. So this for your perspective is looking at the building from the looking to the west. So the green belt and the river would be to the left of the picture. CWI would be behind us in this case, and the multifamily building. And this is also indicating that connectivity that comes from the plaza through with a direct connectivity over to the green belt, and then kind of gives you a feeling of what the patio space could look like as it interacts with the public walking space there. This is the similar picture, but looking the opposite direction. Now we're looking back to the east. You can see the CWI tower off to the right-hand side there to give you perspective. Looks down through where the plaza area is that connects out to Whitewater Park Boulevard. I guess also indicates here that along that roadway, we do have some short-term parking, which would be there, which is separated by the landscaping, which was a request, obviously, of staff that we look into that, and we've noted that here. And then one last picture. This is actually from the back corner. So I know on that site, on the overall site plan that we showed earlier, there's a potential future hotel site, which I actually know is in for review by the city right now, which would be behind us. So this is the very back corner of the garage. One thing I wanted to point out from the renderings that we had earlier to now, we have made an adjustment in materiality and how that garage looks in the screening aspect. And I know I'll let Brad go through that here in a minute. But those are 4-foot high walls that will eliminate headlights coming out from that site with cabling along that to screen the building. And that happens around the entirety of the building. But this just gives a good perspective of the cars coming out to the west as they do that. Also, part of our plan on this, just kind of a fun little thing, is we're intending on that back corner there with the closeness to the park and Quinn's Pond and all those things, and the guests and the hotel and all the things that are happening on the site, put a little surf rental shop there that might have bikes or paddle boards or canoes and those things to help with facilitating all the things that take place in that area, which is a nice little thing we thought would happen there. I think that covers that one there. Just as a reminder, on the landscape plan, we did have a landscape plan that was with this project, although 90% of the landscaping on this site was approved through the overall site plan. I wanted to point out down there along the patio area, just for separation from traffic and from the walkways and how that might look. We indicated where we showed this site plan here to indicate what kind of landscaping might go there. I will point out, it wasn't really on this plan, but it was a condition on the next item we're going to discuss, but I will bring it up on this project as well. Down at the bottom where I have it starred in the bottom corner, there was a request to remove the Japanese yew from our plan, just from the species type. And I will go through on the next one. We're happy to remove that throughout the site and replace it. And I'll talk more about that in the future as we discuss other projects. I will turn the time over now to Brad Smith from our office. He's our lead architect, to walk you through a little more of the actual building itself. Then I'd be happy to stand up and take any other questions that you might have after that.
Great, thanks, Ryan. Any questions for applicant? Thank you. Brad, if you would just state your name, address for the record.
Brad Smith with Allquest Development. Address is 1144 South Silverstone Way in Meridian. Well, thank you guys, Commission, for letting us come and present today. Really looking forward to presenting this today and just taking time, and also staff. Caitlin, really appreciate all the meetings. I think we had 3 or 4 meetings with her already, so just appreciate all the time that you've had to really walk us through that and help us get this design refined. Perfect. So we'll start here with the building. So our goal with this, from an overall design process, a few things we wanted. We wanted connectivity from the site. We want it to be cohesive. We wanted human scale. I know we worked with Caitlin to simplify some of the forms. One of the earlier renditions we had, it was probably too much so. And then the big one was screening of the headlights, which we'll talk through today. We've gone through that. I think in your packets we had the materiality, so we'll go through in depth each of those areas. Starting here from the southeast corner, you can see we have the stair towers. They're an open stair tower. We're proposing an ACM, nice quality, high material there on the stair towers. And then the metal panel 2 mesh that you can see through to get that interactivity and connectivity from the garage down to the street level. Obviously, garage being parking cars, that's what it's for, but trying to get the people down to a human scale from that and walkability. And then on the corner there, we do have a fiber cement panel 2 right next to the ACM, next to the stair tower, and then transition over to a metal panel. And we do have a little bit of EPIS on the project. That white there that you see, that corner piece up high, would be the EPIS piece. Lower on the corner there, really trying to activate that corner. We have storefront with some brake metal and then transom windows up above to really, I'm guessing like a restaurant or some kind of activity there on the corner to really activate that corner and that piece and connect from the pathway in the park right across the street there from the CWI building and the multifamily. For the fencing, we're looking at a typical fencing and some raised planter wells there as you go down there. We do have the street trees and the grates per the site plan that was already approved, as Ryan had said for that. Continuing on down the building, most of it is now fiber cement, or we do have metal panels. We have more ACM as you turn the corner, which you'll see in the next slide as part of the materiality. So looking back, this would be from the southwest corner, looking back towards where we were there. I was just mentioning that ACM with the eyebrows, really trying to create this sense of entry in that pedestrian scale. Obviously, it's a big building, but then trying to bring that to a human level and interact with the people there on the retail side. More of the metal panel. And when you go back in, some places for signage in the future and different tenants that can go there. Wrapping the corner there, we would have a corner brake metal piece that's next to the tree there to keep your eye and walk it around the building. And then on the back side, this is probably the biggest change that we've made. Before, what we had proposed is a steel guardrail throughout the building. So we had metal cable throughout, and we worked with staff to, one of the first comments was, how are you going to screen, right, for the headlights? And so we came up with this steel guardrail that you saw a few slides back in the top right-hand corner there. So the biggest change we have had since then and working with staff, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, we've gone back and gone to a concrete barrier there so we can really block those. We thought it'd be an elevated look, obviously from the steel guardrail. Caitlin had some good comments about trying to get that to a little more elevated look, so we've done that. Our intent is still to keep some of the guardrail throughout, similar to how we had before, for pops of screening and try to keep that tectonic look and unique look, I guess, but upgrade from that. And then as Ryan mentioned too, the rental shop down there in the corner, really activating that corner. It's so close to Quinn's Pond there, really trying to get that presence from the park over and get that site to be activated at ground level there. Any questions, I guess, along for the elevations, or we can keep going to the end or before?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
What is the overall length of that building?
So the overall length's about 350 feet, I believe. I gave the exact dimension.
Okay.
Yeah.
The change in material for the barrier there, is that a precast type of unit?
I think we'll probably end up doing cast in place rather than precast. We're still talking through detailing with construction from a constructability standpoint. Obviously, that's not here, but yeah, a concrete panel.
Okay.
Anything else, I guess, I know we had a audible on some of the elevations here, but trying to update some of the images.
I guess back to the barrier panels. So, the finish on those has been a topic a lot on the garages over the history of those things as well. And so the detailing, those are very careful. It looks like there's some reveals that are lining up with almost kind of what looks like a vertical mullion on those. Just didn't know if you had any more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Great. We've actually talked just from a detailing perspective, probably the route we think in detailing would go if we brought it in about 2 inches. I think that would give more of an undulation in the building. So if you kept the column verticality, but brought those panels in about 2 inches, and then maybe we do look at doing some reveal or form liner or some kind of detailing throughout there. We've had success in different projects where we've had those reveals. When you pull the forms off, you can see the detailing there. but I think getting that undulation would help. So it's not so monolithic for sure.
Yeah, then I didn't know if there's any exposed aggregate or if there's other, or is it just the straight concrete?
Right now we have-
painted, or-
Right now we have, yeah, the concrete and then looking at doing the reveals or a form liner to give it that touch.
Other questions for the applicant at the moment?
All right, so this is level 1 floor plan, and you'll see, as staff mentioned, we have access both through the east and the west. There's sidewalk from the 2 stair towers on the east and the west for your accessible route all the way up in a connectivity to the front there. Patio space out in front, and working with landscape, obviously, for final design on those. We have the retail buildings, basically 2 buildings with a breezeway in between to get access. One thing to note here, we did do a drop-off zone to try to get most of the deliveries and drop-off inside the building, and then try to keep the actual, I guess, street presence and that feel on the patio there. Not saying there won't be, but the ramp is in the center, so ramp up and down, and then the parking decks on level 2 through 4 would be flat around there to circulate. Our bike storage, you can see there, we have bike storage for the project in the middle underneath the ramp, down to about 7 feet of clear height. So adequate, I think, bike parking storage for that. Yeah, so I guess overall questions, and feel free, Ryan can come back up, or on the floor plan or the project as a whole. Anything that you guys have?
Questions?
Mr. Chair, this may actually be a question for staff, but what is the secured bike parking requirement for this project? Is it tied to the TI on the commercial spaces? Or is there a baseline for the parking garage as well?
Yeah, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, so there are bike parking requirements for all of the commercial uses and multifamily uses in the project. And the applicant is intending to consolidate some of the long-term bike parking in this garage location. And they've kind of calculated approximately what the bike parking amount is going to be, but it will depend on final square footages of each use.
Other questions for the applicant?
Yeah, and I apologize. We actually just brought the chart up, so thank you for.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just to clarify, and I think the answer is yes, but you're in agreement with the conditions of approval in the staff report.
Yes,
Just want to get that on.
Yeah,
the
well,
record.
absolutely.
Thank you.
for sure.
Brett, do you have any flat elevation views of the buildings, of the new?
Of the new, we actually, I just have the 3D, I apologize, but we can get you the flat elevation of the new renderings, yeah.
Yeah, I guess my only comment, one of the comments was kind of looking at the elevations as a whole from the face, this basic face here, the garage top elevation. It's a pretty long, flat elevation, and you've got the cut between the 2 buildings where the parking lot is. I think there's just maybe an opportunity to potentially, yeah, it's kind of hard to see there, but potentially either change some materiality or a vertical change kind of around that grid line 7 and 8 area to kind of help break up that long length of the top of the building. I think these renderings are nice. I think those amenity areas out the retail spaces are great. Thanks for the updated renderings as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks staff too. Like I said, I think we had 3 work sessions trying to get to this point. So I appreciate their time in helping us with this.
Now, are the towers still green? I guess
We actually ended up going with a gray,
okay.
a little more muted tone. They seem to be a little bit too, and we were trying to tie everything together, but we went back and like, okay, I think we're trying too hard and we're forcing something that didn't really make as much sense there.
Anything else for the applicant?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Stead.
What drove the decision to not include more rentable square footage above the commercial space? You know, that,
So like a second story?
or another 5 stories. You're doing multifamily across the way, you know, if
Yeah.
you could wrap that facade
Oh,
of
yeah.
multifamily and put another 100 units there, and it's not like you're not in that business. So it's just an interesting, you know, this is downtown riverfront urban lands, like
Mhm.
it's highly valuable. I just don't know why or doing a single story
Sure, yeah.
commercial space on that particular area. Because I think you could go bigger there and it would have multiple effects, right? We wouldn't have a 350-foot long parapet
Mhm.
to look out from the street either.
No, I think for us, the multifamily, obviously we had the multifamily project and then trying to do retail. So they had somewhere to eat and somewhere to play and somewhere to interact. I know we haven't had very good success with multi-level retail personally. So that's probably from a retail perspective driving that. From the multifamily standpoint, just keeping the multifamily separate was I guess the thought there, but.
Other questions? All right,
Okay,
thank
well,
you.
thank you guys for your time. Really appreciate it.
Josh, is there a neighborhood association in this area, do you know? Okay, I guess is there a neighborhood association in present to testify tonight? Seeing none in person, none online, Josh? All right, open up to the public testimony. Anybody in the public here in attendance wishing to testify on this item tonight? Seeing none, any online, Josh? No? Any other last things from the applicant or any questions for the applicant from, yeah, Ryan?
Yeah, maybe just, thank you, Ryan Cutler again. Just maybe one last thing on the question on the color adjustment. Early on in the process, as we were going through this, there was a component with a local bank that had a color that was green. That is not a portion. Yes, I think you all know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
but we will talk about. And a portion of that was some of the branding for them. The CWI green and the other green clashed a little bit. And so it looked a little much. And that's part of the reason why there was a little bit of a color change here, because that establishment is not going to be in this building anymore. So we made some adjustment there. And I appreciate Commissioner Erstad's comment about, we probably could have gone bigger. We probably could have gone with an element of multifamily. And I appreciate Brad's answer as well, where we've found success in what we've done in kind of separating those. And I think our feel was too, it was going to make the site a little more packed than we wanted it to be ultimately in the future. And then some of the feedback that we did get early on from the neighborhood association, who has been involved and have come to our neighborhood meetings, was that they appreciated, I guess, the buildings being a little bit smaller. That was one of their complaints from early on. When we came back, as you remember, year plus ago, we had 8-story buildings and people weren't thrilled about that. And so it was just an attempt to make a building of this size as nice as we could make it for the location of where it is along the river, with the component of the multifamily next to it, still provide an element of retail and then have a garage that looked as classy as we could make it. So, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I did have one extra question. And it was for the actual parking stall count.
Mhm.
Can we go back to that?
Yeah, it's 630.
It's 630?
Yep.
Okay, so the required count is just over 4.
Yeah,
40
it's
or
well
so.
above it. And this garage truthfully is actually being built, future proofed, that if we needed to in the future, the garage could be elevated. But for right now, we're just staying at the level as it is to see how things go as far as that count. But the count is 630, and that includes the EV requirements for the city.
Is that size also based on the proposed hotel?
Yeah, it's for everybody. So that's including hotel, multifamily, and then public use for open parking. But that's driven by numbers that we receive from our hotel user, future hotel user, assuming that's approved, and then bedrooms and beds at the multifamily level.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this is the only parking area for the whole site. So everything is contained in this one structure.
I just have one question, might be one for Brad. I didn't
Sure.
see any exterior lighting really shown on the submittal, be it either the plaza or on the buildings. Know if there was, I'd be missing that.
Yeah, great question, Jim. Yeah, so this is more of a dusk. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So on the vertical columns there in between, we're planning on downlights there to shine down the columns that on the back sides there to elevate the look that we talked about from that verticality. And then we will have lighting there on the front side also.
On the garage.
On the garage side, yes, and also some sconces on the retail.
Gotcha. Yeah, it might be one of those opportunities just where those material changes and those pops off.
Yeah,
have
to
some-
really accent those and
Yeah,
give it a, for sure.
some
Great
linears or
thought.
something like that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Same thing, I guess, with the patio. You have a nice deep patio there, and whether
Mhm.
there's some bollards or some decorative plaza lighting, it kind of looks like it shows or it
Yeah.
has that effect, but I didn't see any actual pictures.
Yeah, well, and I believe we also have the street fixtures out there in between
Okay.
the trees also as part of the site package too.
Great.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
was there a consideration for maybe deeper awnings on some of these spaces? You know, you got southern, western exposure that, you know, you mentioned restaurant as a
Mhm.
potential use like that. Those could get baked for, you know, 6 months of the year.
Yeah. No,
Is
absolutely.
a consideration that might be, I mean, I know there's, you know, you show umbrellas there and
Yeah.
that's
Well,
not
we've
it,
gone
but-
back and forth. Yeah,
Yeah.
for that. At one point we had too far out, I would say, Caitlin. It was almost too much, right? So trying to get in the sweet spot there. On the corner elements, we don't. That's why we have the umbrellas, but then we do have the awnings. So I'll go back one slide that and the canopies you can see. I can't zoom in, but we do have the canopy shown on the middle sections there that will be off the building.
Yeah, last question. I guess everywhere you have the ethos of you're still doing a concrete wainscot, I guess, when is the grounds, the ethos is
Correct.
hitting
Yeah,
the ground.
we have a concrete wainscot. Both mostly were either the fiber cement or the EFIS, just from a durability standpoint, trying to tie the garage back in there from a materiality standpoint so that it doesn't get long term from a maintenance standpoint and aesthetic.
You're comfortable with parapet height screening, rooftop equipment and all that
Yes,
kind of
yeah,
stuff?
either one of two things, either it'll fully be screened by the parapet or the self screened mechanical units. That was one of the conditions that, yeah, for sure, we approve.
Other questions for that? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
At this point, we'll close the public portion of the testimony, bring it back to the commission for discussion. And a motion.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Stat.
I think this is a project would probably benefit from a work session. I think we've given a fair amount of discussion to the verticality and the horizontality and I think that needs to be addressed before full on approval. The length of this facade and the fact that there's really no articulation to it to the front side or to the north side, I think creates a pretty it's out of scale with the pedestrian and with the neighbors and even just within our urban environment. So I think it's important that we understand what the proposed solution there is. I think you know, it'd be nice to see a little more interest added to that screening rather than strictly just horizontal lines with a couple vertical lines, like maybe an introduction of I think the original design had some interest with the voids and semi-solid kind of randomness to it. And I think maybe a combination of the two, bringing that sort of random pattern back in while also going back and kind of defining the structure a little bit better could make for what would ultimately be a relatively interesting parking garage. I know there's only so much you can do with a parking garage, but we have seen some really interesting stuff done with parking garages as well. So I'd like to see more proposed there that makes this not just a, you know, 350-foot long, 50-foot tall, more or less flat facade. I like the more muted color on the verticals. I think that's a little bit more, well, it's a matter of taste, but it just seems a little bit less jarring and a little less corporate. I think, you know, so one of my comments about this is really more about the next project that we're going to hear, and it has to do with the proximity of that bike parking to the bike parking users. I think the fact that the ramp slopes up from the east makes all the sense in the world based on the access to the site, but as far as who's going to be using that and how far they're going to have to walk from parking their bike to where they actually live. It means that probably going to be a lot more bikes living in apartment units than actually in the bike storage. So it's just a kind of a comment on that arrangement. I think, you know, we're looking at a parking garage. It's a parking garage and it's got some retail to it, but there's only, I don't know. There's not too much I can say one way or the other about it.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree that a work session just based on the items we've discussed tonight, you know, the reveals on the concrete, the change onto those concrete panels, just kind of get a little more detail on that would help. And I think it would also help define some of that form a little bit more. So, yeah, I mean, I'd be in favor of a work session on this one.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Matt.
Yeah, just to kind of further expand on what's been said, I think some modifications to the garage elevations could be done fairly simply and economically, you know, just by if we are using cast in place, you know, just simply maybe on column lines, on grid lines, popping out that column a little bit, as Commissioner or as Chairman Marsh said, you know, adding some light fixtures at those locations to kind of accent and create a rhythm along that facade. And then it might be just as simple as potentially making the cables a little bit more dense or varying the spacing so that you get different sunlight reflectance off of those. And it starts to play with that opacity that Commissioner Erstad was mentioning. It could be something as simple as that. Or, I mean, it would be interesting to see if you're open to it. I agree that playing with different infill panel types could be interesting too. Just you know, like a perforated panel or a mesh versus the cable railings. But yeah, I agree with the comments that have been made so far too.
Yeah, I mean, I do appreciate the plaza space and the siding around the building and the retail. I think that could be a really nice active space. I do appreciate the updated renderings and stuff, as well as it does look more upscale. So I appreciate that coming in. Only thing that kind of struck me up looking at the other applications is they do have more texture to them. We've got some either brick or wood or some panels like this, and this one's really a little more modern, a little more stark on the materials. Yeah, a little bit more monochromatic. I'm not necessarily said that's necessarily a bad thing, but it just because of the relationship of the textures to the materials next door, might be some opportunity to interject some of those into the building, but I'm not sure that I'd want to make that a condition. But yeah, I would agree. I think Matt, you had some great options as well for like even like say working with the different spacing with the cables can be pretty dramatic on some of those kind of things. So yeah, I'd be in support of that as well. But any other thoughts or comments, or anybody want to take a stab at the motion?
Just to kind of further expand on your textural comment. We're looking at another project that has fiber cement right now, and I'm kind of amazed at the variations that you see in the fiber cement. So I guess while we're at it in this next iteration and work session, it might be an opportunity to expand on that materiality and just look at what that fiber cement material is. They have like scoring patterns, they have like natural patina, they have some that have, like, to your point, like a very stark kind of monolithic or monochromatic finish that might be closer to ACM. So maybe going with something that has some kind of like scoring or patina or something like that might give a little bit more textural difference and kind of, yeah, expand on what you were describing.
Yeah, no, good points. Well, I think everybody's in pretty agreement that we'd, you know, conceptually, I think overall we appreciate the updated renderings and overall, I think we're pleased where this is headed, but just kind of want to take a look at this at a work session with some of those comments that were brought up tonight. Anybody want to take a stab at a motion then?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Stad.
I would move that we approve DRH 25-00270 according to the findings of fact, conclusions of law, recommended conditions of approval, with the addition of a condition for a return to a work session focused on materiality and facade articulation, as well as screening.
Yep, so moved. Your second?
Second.
Second, thank you, Mr. Simple. Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Christina, will you please call the roll?
Simple,
Aye.
Marsh,
Aye.
Erstad,
Aye.
Gesrick.
Aye.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you. All right, moving on to our next item number 3, DRH 25-00268. Locations 3150 Main Street. Looks like Josh, you're handling this one today, huh?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. As Ryan pointed out, Catherine's feeling a little under the weather tonight, so I'm stepping in. I'll keep my comments fairly brief. I know that they have a detailed presentation and can answer any questions you may have. So again, we are on the CWI campus, corner of Whitewater and Main. This is the multifamily retail building at the northeast corner of the site. It does have frontage on Whitewater and on the internal service drive to the north and west as well. Again, the site is located near downtown on the edge of the river. Currently a vacant asphalt lot, which is awesome to hear that that's being torn up as we speak, because I think folks have been looking forward to that for a long time. So this is a super great opportunity and a project that we're all familiar with here. The multifamily building proposed tonight proposes 216 units and 1,900 square feet of ground floor commercial area and is 5 stories in height. It does not contain any parking. As mentioned previously, the parking for the entire site will be in the parking garage that was previously discussed. The floor plan shows an internal courtyard with resident amenities, including pools, seating areas, and some other activities for residents, surrounded by those levels of residential. One condition of approval that has been added is to provide a building entrance that is directly accessed from Whitewater. The building itself uses a variety of materials, roof heights, wall plane modulation to provide design interest. You will see there is brick, some simulated wood, metal paneling, and some EIFS that is seen elsewhere on the campus. They use those material breaks in areas that correspond to modulation to provide that design interest, break up what could be, certainly on the south and north elevations could be very long, monotonous facades, but they have used those techniques to break those up, provide those shadow lines, that design interest along those material breaks. Overall, we have recommended approval. There are some conditions attached to the project regarding complying with code requirements for bicycle parking and the design of the bicycle parking, the amount of bicycles which hang that exceed the code allowance, and then complying with the EV parking, which has previously been mentioned as part of the parking garage. With that, I can stand for any questions, or I know the applicant has a detailed presentation as well.
Okay, thanks, Josh. Questions for?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
you mentioned the addition of a condition for directly accessing lobby off of Whitewater. Is that different from what's shown?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Erstad, yes. So the floor plan does show, so it shows 3 ground floor building accesses, but none of those are directly accessible from Whitewater. So that would be on the east side of the building there. This does require a pedestrian entry to the building that is visible and directly accessible from Whitewater.
So essentially taking those doors in the northeast corner and pointing them towards the street.
I'll let the applicant address that, and I can do a little digging here in the staff report, but correct, I believe that's the intent.
That would be,
Yep.
that would comply.
Yeah,
Okay.
it would.
Thank you.
Other questions for staff? None. Is the applicant present? And as usual, if you would state your name and address for the record.
Thanks again, Mr. President. Ryan Cutler, Alquist Development, 1144 South Silverstone Way, Meridian, Idaho, 83642. We're Josh, grateful for you. Second string's not bad. We would have preferred Catherine. I'm not gonna lie, but we're grateful that hope she feels better, and we're grateful you were able to step in and help out here. And I hope I don't know if you can see online. I believe we have Breton Smith online. Do you see that? Okay, perfect. So similar team that we've been utilizing for this site, but you'll see Breton Smith. He will be online. He's actually in Utah. So when I turn some time over to him, he'll be online for that portion of it as the design architect for this building. And once again, we're grateful for the approval recommendation from staff as we've worked with them pretty extensively on this building. And I know the group from Method Studio, where Breton is from, has worked with them pretty extensively on this as well. I won't bore you with the details again, as we're very familiar with the site we're talking about, and Josh has already gone over that there. Just as a reminder, we have approval of the CWI Tower building, the overall site, approval of the parking garage with the conditional approval of the parking garage this evening. And tonight we're talking specifically about that multifamily building on the northern portion of this map. We, as well as the previous project, do have some updated renderings that we want to discuss today. And I know Josh brought up one specific condition that I will talk about here in a little bit. And again, we do have Breton Smith online who will talk more detail about the actual materiality of the building and the design of the building when he takes over here in a minute. This picture, as you can probably tell, is standing on Whitewater Park Boulevard, looking to the west, to the main entrance and front area of the building. As was mentioned by staff, condition 1I is a public door facing Whitewater Park Boulevard. We have added, as you can see in this rendering, to the left. I don't know if this points. Does it? Is there a? Oh, you're not going to see that anyways. Pointed that one up there. There we go. In this area right here, we have added a public doorway that does go in and out into the space, into the lobby area. And part of the reason why the main doors are not shifted over onto Whitewater Park Boulevard is our concern was when you have, in this day of age of drop off, Uber Eats, all of those things, we were concerned that there may be stopping that happened along Whitewater Park Boulevard in the bike lane there and congest that area. So we are happy to accommodate and discuss that this evening. We have added a singular door there to make sure that we meet that condition to have that access. Our preference would be to have that off of the parking lot to eliminate some of that conflict that could end up happening along Whitewater Park Boulevard. I don't disagree with it would be nice to have some access along Whitewater Park Boulevard. I just don't feel like we want that to be the main access and for people to be utilizing that as an opportunity to stop in that roadway and cause congestion or flow to the pedestrian traffic that happens in the area. And again, happy to discuss that with with you all tonight on your thoughts on that here in just a minute. But that was a part of our thought process as we went through in designing this building and then adding an additional access out onto Whitewater Park Boulevard. Here's a different time of day looking at the building from Whitewater Park Boulevard, but looking back towards, I guess, towards the north and to the west to give you a better idea of the lighting on the building and in the building and how it interacts with the plaza area between the CWI tower and the multifamily building. And again, also highlighting some of the active use that's happening literally around the entire building and how that interacts with the CWI building across the way. And an additional rendering here. This is looking back towards the northeast on the other corner of the building there. One thing we wanted to point out on this drawing here is we do have some front-facing units that head out onto the plaza, and at the recommendation of staff, and as we discussed with our design team, we've added a little delineation of space of what's private and what's public. There is a little brick half wall that I don't know if you can see. It's kind of maybe indicated this person's sitting on it right here to not only separate those two things, but to make it feel like a little bit more of this is the space of the owner and this is the space of the public, while still being able to utilize the ability to come right out into the plaza area. That's one thing that we wanted to make sure we adjusted on that floor, on that rendering there. This is the back side of the building, so to speak. So we're looking to the south and east here. What you'll notice across the frontage here is the activity we have. This is on the overall site plan, there's a pathway that connects along the entire back side of the property and then goes over towards the green belt. That's what is indicated right here in front of you on that pathway. I know those trees along that pathway look kind of small. We did that intentionally in this rendering just to not cover the building so you could see what the building looks like. We intend those trees will likely be different when they're actually planted. Just in this picture, they look a little small, but that's why we did that. And then you can see from the parking lot, this is the main entrance area that comes off that parking lot there into the building, along with the front-facing door that we've added to Whitewater Park Boulevard. And then, as indicated by staff, as they showed in the site plan, just an interior picture that shows the materiality and the amenities that are intended to be on the interior of the building for use of tenants that will be living and staying and playing in this area. As indicated again in condition 1I, as I've shown on this new updated site plan, it's kind of hard to see because it's small, but right there is that door area that we've added that goes out onto Whitewater Park Boulevard to help meet that condition of 1I in the staff report. And then finally, we talked about this before on the previous plan. Again, our site plan has a majority of the landscaping has been approved in the overall site. But the bottom condition of the Japanese yew, and I'm going to apologize, I'm going to step away real quick. It was requested that that plant species be removed from it and adjusted. We have been working with our landscape architect on this team, and they have already given us four different types of plants that we could swap out for that as a part of this condition. I will probably butcher these, but I know Commissioner Semple will help me. The Rus aromatic growlow, the hydrangea paniculata, another one that I can't read, it's called a bluebeard, and then the Suja occidental danica were 4 opportunities for replacement on there. We'd happy to be discussed if there was a preference of one of those and we would replace that for all of the Japanese yew on the site plan everywhere. It could be swapped with one of those plants if there was a preference there to help out with condition 1E. That was brought up by staff. I'm happy to take any questions up to this point. Otherwise, I will turn some time over to Bretton Smith to go through the building itself. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those now, or I can do that later.
Thank you. Any questions at this point? Nope. Thank you.
Thanks. All yours, Bretton.
Thanks, Ryan. Mr. Chair and Commissioners, thanks for taking the time to take a look at our project today and help us out with it. I'm going to speak as to the architecture of the building and just kind of talk through our material choices and our facade design. So starting here, we're looking at the elevation facing Whitewater Boulevard. So the main entrance to the project is on the northeast corner, where we have some 2-story glazing to bring you into the entrance. And like we've been talking about, we had envisioned the primary doors to be facing into the site on the access drive, but we have also added a door now facing towards Whitewater. And as Ryan said, we envision that we're going to have visitors to the building. We're going to have the potential for Uber Eats drop-offs. And we felt like if we were going to put an entrance facing Whitewater, we would have the potential of visitors looking for a quick pullover. And right here along this curb is a turning lane. and there's really not much of a curb to give space for that. So we really wanted to place the doors where they would be visible on a turn, so you would be able to get out of the flow of traffic. So that's kind of where we went with that. So looking at this elevation, we've got kind of our main anchor corner here with the two-story glazing, and then we're using our accent simulation wood fiber cement to fill in the kind of the frame that we have, and we have an opportunity for some building lettering to go in here, and then we're looking at the our other part of our vocabulary was to use brick as our ground level material, and then we use kind of a bump out where we have some interaction with the public. So right here, we're looking at the gym for tenants. And then it's only a single story in height. So we've got the building stepped back so that we don't have a 5-story wall right up on the sidewalk. And then turning the corner to the left side of this image is the secondary entrance for residents off of the plaza. And then next to that is the so we're now looking at the south elevation, and the retail space, the 1,900 square feet of retail space, would be right next to the secondary resident entrance. That's on the right side of this image, and so we have like a deep rib accent panel that's delineating those areas. And just like the gym portion of the building, this portion is bumped out, and the residential floors above are stepped back, just to help with the kind of pedestrian scale. Okay, and then to the left is what kind of look like row houses, is a row of 2-story apartments, and we saw those in the rendering earlier, where we wanted to give a portion of the residential units the opportunity to step out and use the plaza and engage with the public and with pedestrians, and then have good access to their bicycle parking as well. So, and then on this elevation, we're kind of showing the residential strategy, which is a mix of the EIFS stucco, and we've used our unit balconies as to help provide undulation in the facade. So we have those kind of clad in the same simulated wood, and they bump up higher than the parapet. And then between each of the 2-story apartment units, the actual unit entrance has a accent fiber cement infill there. Okay, Ryan, can we go to the oh, that's it. Okay. Yep. Yeah. So this is the west elevation, and it's this would be coming from the garage on the left side of the image into the plaza space, and then we're continuing to work with solid waste with Gabe. This is the entrance to the trash room here, and then there's a little bit of some parallel parking here. And then moving around to the north side of the building, we on the right side of this image, you can see we have like a little glass railing, and we're proposing a rooftop amenity space for tenants to look out towards the river, and then otherwise on this corner here is a stack of 3-bedroom units that have a little bit bigger balcony on this accent corner. And we've kind of used that same shape and design as the main entrance here on this corner, with like a metal panel canopy over the units. Yep, and then the remaining space on the left side of the image is another bump out clad in brick for our leasing office and our tenant post office. Let me rephrase that. Our mail room, not a post office. Okay, thanks. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Stud.
One question on the HVAC contemplated for these units. Is that VTAC, mini split? Like is there anything in the facade that we're missing? Should there be louvers anywhere? Or is this units on the roof that will be ducted in that we should be accounting for?
Ryan, could I pitch that question to you?
You can, thank you. Yeah, it's intended at this point in time to be units on the roof, screened on the roof.
Okay.
It's part of the conditions, part of our conditions of approval. Yep.
For the trash room, is that a full pull-in trash room?
So it is, whoops, let me get to a right picture here. Trash room.
Or is that staging area along the street?
It's, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brendan here, I believe it's intended to be staged when it to be able to pull out of that unit, be staged on the street. And then as you remember, maybe from the garage and all the rest of the unit directly across the street on this side is where the trash compactors are as a part of the overall site plan in the garage area. So this area here is intended to be able to be pulled out and dumped and then placed back in the unit there. Then across the street is more of a pulled in compactor style trash unit.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, Mr. Simple.
I'll answer your question about the plant. Because you're taking out of evergreen. I mean, the U would be an evergreen. I would recommend that Danica arborvitae. I think it kind of fills that same role, if you will. It's an evergreen.
Sounds great. I knew I could get a great answer from you, so that's why I laid it out there.
And Mr. Chair, if I could, just another, this may be for staff, regarding condition I, the condition to place a door visible from Whitewater wasn't that they place a main entry there. It's just that there was a visible pedestrian access for, say, someone's walking down the sidewalk to go in, or a resident is in that lobby space and wants to go out onto Whitewater. That's what that's for.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Simple, absolutely. It's just a door. It doesn't have to be the primary door.
And then, Mr. Chair, follow up if I could.
Yes.
You guys are all right with what you have there with that door? You're okay.
We are. Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. Commissioner Simple. Yeah, we reviewed through that after we got the condition from staff. We read it the same way you did. Just needed to have access in and out. And again, I think that mostly would probably be from somebody exiting the building, truthfully. But for the reasons that we mentioned and Brenton mentioned, we would prefer the main doors be off of that. And if we meet the condition that we are that way by having that door there, we're absolutely great with that.
Yeah, sounds like you do. So
Yep.
I think it's great. Thank you.
Other questions, Rob? All right, thank you very much. Again, I'll ask if the Neighborhood Association is in attendance and wishing to testify tonight. Seeing none in person, any online, Josh? Okay. Are there members of the public wishing to testify tonight? No. Seeing none in person, any online, Josh? Any last words from the applicant?
I do, maybe just in anticipation of a bike question coming up or as a part of a discussion. Yeah, bike parking became a challenge on the site, and we evaluated many things. including over parking bikes from a short term. You know, you don't want to have too many short-term bike parking spots, otherwise it turns into a bike parking lot and the site doesn't look great. We recognize that the bike parking for somebody that's living in these apartments are probably a little further away than normal. We would agree on that. I think from our perspective, from an overall beauty and upkeep of the site, our preference would be it's in the area where it is, because it is maybe a little more hidden. Maybe it is a little more safe for the people parking their bikes there, because it's not out in the open. Can be more long term there. That's best utilized space under that ramp that maybe wasn't utilized for anything else, and just as open space. But I mean, to Commissioner Erstad's comment, it is a little bit further away than maybe it would be if walking right outside your door and having a long-term bike storage area. However, with the plaza and the open space nature of how we're trying to make this site free and flowing, it became very challenging to place another area big enough that would handle all of the bikes there. There is a requirement. It's a pretty high requirement for 300 plus bikes in a long-term facility. So we were able to find 4,000 square feet under that ramp area that is, by all accounts, based on what we have on the site, the best area for that, albeit a few steps away from where people might live on this. But from an overall site aesthetic and look and feel of the area, it doesn't clutter up any other location that might look like not that I'm saying people would do this, but just kind of piling bikes somewhere and it just becomes kind of an eyesore. So that was kind of the thought process that went through that, of utilizing best space for it, having it be a little more protected and hidden underneath something. From a safety standpoint, this might require somebody to walk a minute or so to get to it. But that was the idea behind that bike parking area.
Mr.
And
Chair.
we're happy with staff. Staff has a condition in there where we're working through that to make sure there's enough to have two wheels on the ground. We're making sure there's bikes that have trailers in it, and then the appropriate amount, which I believe is 25%, that can be, one wheel up to help accommodate space there. So we're happy to work with staff to make sure that condition's met and all the bike parking is accounted for.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Real quick, since we're on this subject and
Yeah.
I meant to bring it up, I imagine we'll be at a work session on this one too, just to look at some more of the detailing. Could you highlight on the plan for this one in particular where you do envision some short-term bike parking areas? I know there's some incorporated on the site, but maybe just when at the work session,
Yeah.
we can see that, just to see what you feel like you've provided there for short term. Because yeah, I agree that it would get a little cumbersome to carve out something on this site that way.
Yeah, and Mr. President, Commissioner Semple, it again with the plaza area there and the nature of the school, being used, where we were concerned about making sure that we spread out those short term, and I can happy to show that in the overall plan when we talk about this, but we didn't want 5 rows of short term parking and it just be stacked with bikes. Wasn't really a great overall look for that plaza area, and so they are kind of spread out amongst the site and accounted for throughout the site. So we're happy to bring that up. We talked about it last month, but I'm happy to bring that up.
I think just
Yeah,
to highlight it, just
Yeah.
for
sure.
to refresh our
Yeah.
memories for
Not a
that.
problem.
So, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, only question on the view that we have here. I'm presuming there's a small wall between those balconies on top of the second story units. Is that
Yes,
true? Okay.
correct.
Just for
Kind of hard.
security's
Oh,
sake.
sorry, it's kind of hard to tell. You've got some of the walls in those areas, and as Brenton talked about, they're popped in and out so that you're not necessarily right next to somebody all the time. It just, with that different building undulation there, that would allow for a difference in the building and not having to share your balcony with your neighbor.
Yeah, I guess if between now and if we get to a work session on this, oftentimes those balconies you can be right up against some, almost up to another neighbor's window. So if there is any desire for screens on top of those walls between those two balconies that are horizontal, it'd be nice to see that at that time. But no, thank you. Any other questions?
And
Yeah.
Brenton, if you have any thoughts on that, I'm happy to let you answer that. If not, tell me to take a hike. That's totally fine.
I would just say the wall does kind of encircle this corner unit balcony, and then the next balcony, or the next unit with a balcony is, you can see it's kind of far down the facade. But otherwise the same kind of parapet wall is just used as a parapet wall in those other locations. So they are serving as a balcony in a few of the locations. Otherwise, they're just a parapet.
Gotcha. So those lower ones are breaking up there's no balcony on top of the lower jog. I guess I'm getting what you're saying.
Yes, correct.
That helps. Gotcha. Thank you.
Good.
All right. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
This time, close the public portion of the testimony, bring it back to the commission for discussion and a motion. Anybody want to take a stab at anything?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I think there's some components to this that are decent, and I think there's some components of this that are just a little too busy when all put together. I think that particularly on the east facade, we've got a lot going on. I think there's some opportunities to maybe simplify or kind of reduce the amount of sort of design languages that we've got going on, particularly where that the brick mass projects out for the gym. I think you could dress that in the same way that you're dressing sort of that lobby area, and it would look a little bit more unified and coherent. I think having that brick there, which I think is probably one of the most successful elements of this in those townhouses, the little row house elements. I think those are awesome. But I think that there might just be more going on around this facade than there might need to be. One thing, I think your west facade and your north facade have a nice rhythm going. I think what I would probably do is make the ephes around those balconies a slightly different shade. Maybe use that as your accent ephes, and then the main facade there could be just more of the field color, and that would help kind of accentuate that rhythm and make those elements pop a little bit more. I think the south facade, where you have that overhang there, it kind of lessens that that motif and that rhythm. I would just make that the same parapet as you have on the west and the north, and keep that same rhythmic look with the accentuated verticality of the balcony areas. I think each corner has something different happening, and I think there's an opportunity to kind of say, this is how we treat a corner. I really like the northeast, where you've got this kind of oversized bracketing going on. You've got an introduction of kind of the diagonals in there that really it's a different language. I think, you could emulate that on the other corners to have just a more, in this condition, we do this, in this condition, we do this, and it just kind of unifies the kind of the coherence of the design. Because right now, you've got this tall brick piece that is only there. And then it gets treated differently when you go around the corner, and then it gets treated differently when you go around the corner again. So I think, paring back the number of different design interest moves could make for a more easily detailed, more easily constructed, and a little bit more overall coherent facade around. I think as far as the ground plane goes, I'm not quite convinced that the row houses along the plaza are the best move. I would almost say that that should be more of a public, lobby space or something along those lines, because I think that plaza is going to be a much more public and active space. I think the first floor of those townhouses is going to just have the blinds drawn most of the time, because I wouldn't want my living room right next to a major public space. It almost makes more sense along the north side, but I think, again, that's more a matter of taste, and I do think that those parapet balconies on the third floor are going to be really, really pleasant for those people up there. But I've kind of monopolized this, so someone else talk.
Yeah. I guess I'm a little mixed on some of your comments there too. The building's got such an interesting geometry and the size of the building, the different motifs at the corner piece. I don't think that bothers me too much. You just don't really see the building as a whole, and these narrow views between the adjacent buildings kind of limit you're really seeing the building in that way. I think the plaza view and the scale of stuff, I think is fine. So appreciate all the work and thought that goes through this. Again, I think the town home kind of piece is successful on there too. I kind of wondered the same about having them open up to the plaza. Be pretty nice, I guess, when the plaza is not in use and having that kind of area to kind of go out. And other times it's I guess maybe not any different than any other urban row house. He's going open and tapped in a public way. So as for the doors, the one door open out to Whitewater, gosh, that really swing much of anything other than it's going to be a door in a strange spot into the lobby. I don't know that I would have a strong opinion of just removing that condition, and because those doors are so close to that elevation, just allowing that to be satisfying that condition. So a few of my thoughts on that.
Is there a view of that corner that we can get to, Josh? Do you know? Yeah, right there. So I think that awning wraps that window feature. That's what you're saying, is like if you could, if there's a push the pedestrian to that corner, draw the eye to that corner, then the other door isn't really, it kind of feels like you see the door because of the glass element.
You see the paper on it say use other door.
Right, yeah.
It's also a detached sidewalk there with a significant landscape buffer
It
as
is,
well.
yeah.
So I don't think it's going to necessarily get a lot of use, but
Yeah.
I think to Commissioner Marsh's point, I don't know that it's necessarily necessary, especially because it is, 15 feet off the corner and highly visible, and because of the transparency through that whole
Right.
mass, it's
see
easy to
where
see.
you're-
There's an entrance over there.
Yeah. You see where you're supposed to go anyway.
Right.
I agree.
So I know there was a couple of comments on potentially moving, approving this with the stipulation of having a work session. Are there specific items the commission really wants the applicant to bring back? If that is the case, I guess this might be that time for the discussion. Do you think there's some nice brick elements in here? It'd be kind of nice to maybe see some of the detailing and how the coursing might work. Because I think a small details in the brick coursing could really elevate the design on some of those larger areas. Again, lighting, I think, is an important one on this building.
I think kind of to the point of the texturing of, EIFS or fiber cement panel, if they're going to, change up some of the color elements on those features, as Commissioner Erstad talked about, I think it'd be good to see, to your point, the brick patterning. It looked like that taller brick tower element had some different patterning on it that would be nice to see kind of what that looks like.
Yeah, I think when you have large expanses of brick like you're starting to see here, it's important to have not just, alternation between a soldier course and a typical running course, but, where is there depth to that?
Yeah.
What's the variation? And is there a rhythm across the length of it, or is it, just generally what is the detail there? Because I think it's not, we don't have like a hip old factory district where you're doing a cool adaptive reuse of a 4-story brick building with, so, you can't really necessarily say we're hearkening back to these old flat facades. I think when you propose something like this, we need to see a level of detail in there that says, okay, this is new brick. Let's do brick the way brick can be done.
Yeah, so I think that those would be good items to review at a work session. Personally.
Well, if there's any other comments or would somebody want to take a stab at a motion? Matt, do you have a?
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Yeah, Josh, could we pan back to that, or I guess flashback to that other slide? Yeah, right there. I guess, yeah, the one thing I'm kind of struggling with a little bit is, it seems like kind of like a historic brick brownstone next to everything else that's very modern. And I like the juxtaposition, but I think there's an opportunity to, and you've done it a little bit on the first floor where you've kind of incorporated some of these darker, is that fiber cement in between, and then potentially like a metal panel in between the windows. I think there might be an opportunity to further incorporate that maybe on the second story. So you do get this kind of, it almost has like an adaptive reuse feel, a little bit more industrial, but kind of a little bit of a modern pop to it. And yeah, kind of to that point, we have this, I think if they weren't right next to each other, it wouldn't, if that brick facade was on, say, another elevation that wasn't right next to these historic looking row houses, you could probably get away with a very monolithic modern style of brick with just a flat facade and changing up coursings. But I do agree with the other commissioners. I think due to the proximity to those historic elements, I think there needs to be some kind of articulation on that facade. You've done it a little bit up top there where you have a canopy that's directly adjacent with a more modern form, and you've tied that around and created a shadow line there. I think there's some opportunities to further incorporate elements like that, or maybe even some undulation with those window openings, maybe like a kind of maybe continuing that that language that's on the adjacent, the more modern language with the wood look siding. You could incorporate some kind of vertical element with those windows and maybe have a little bit of undulation there and relief. So.
Mr. Chair, the one other point of kind of tinkering I think there could and probably should be is on that east facade. We've got a couple of these first floor masses that stick out. I just think where we have these material breaks, and if you could actually go to the last rendering that we showed more, there we go. Yeah, stop. We've got these two different treatments to these extrusions. Just separating the parapets between the two, so there's just this more distinction between one treatment and the other treatment, and they take on their own character more so. But I don't think that needs to be extreme. I think just a subtle breaking of those two parapet heights.
Well, it sounds like really consensus that we're ready for an approval with the work session. Somebody want to take a stab at a motion then?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would move to approve DRH 25-00268 as recommended in the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and recommended conditions of approval noted in the project report, with the removal of condition I and the addition of a condition to return to a work session to detail some of the brick elements, the facade elements, lighting, and other items discussed during deliberations.
Okay, have a motion.
Second.
Second.
Quick clarification. I guess is the applicant in favor of the door, or like would they have the option of either including it or not including it, even if that was stricken from
They could, my understanding was that they did not want it there because it was directing potential foot traffic or drop-off traffic on Whitewater Boulevard.
Yeah. Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, can you please call the roll?
Temple,
Aye.
Marsh,
Aye.
Erstad,
Aye.
Gesrick.
Aye.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you very much, everyone. Josh, can we make it a condition that all applicants have to state the Latin names of the plantings from now on too? That's a nice touch. So, yeah. Thanks all. And with that, we're adjourned.